Work emails, text message. It never stops. Never stops.
I understand. That's why I turn everything off. They can't get me if nothing's on. I understand. Oh, there we go. Looks like we are on and we are live. Although it also looks, oh, there we go. Okay, so live, making sure it's working. Well, gentlemen, how is it going? Happy Wednesday evening.
Good. How are you?
Can't complain. Can't complain. 17, you?
It's going well as it can be.
If you complain, nobody would listen anyway.
I know, right? Who cares?
Yeah, that's exactly right. No doubt about it. Well, what is new in both of your worlds?
Drinking.
That's what are we drinking?
I'm totally distracted. I'm doing a work text right now.
We are drinking some Blantons.
Blantons, okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. Tell us what you're texting.
I can't. It's work related.
It's okay. We don't really want to know.
No, you don't. It's not a good one. It's not a good text.
Yeah, right. If you're texting work related, it can't be that good. Well, listen, it's great to see everybody out there. I know we sometimes do roll call. I'm not as big of a fan of that myself because you guys all know who you are, and there are a lot of you out there already. So thank you to each and every one of you for hanging out with us, of course. So as far as the world of pew pew, is anything new with you guys?
No, just testing an item out that was sent in and kind of running it, able to carry it. Or use it, use the product to carry, I guess I should say that. And put out a video today, the P09 versus the P07, and got some other stuff coming up. And other than that, not a whole bunch. What about you guys?
Nothing really, nothing big. Everything's still closed down. Judges, I just found this out the other day that even if I was to acquire a new handgun, the judges aren't actually signing anything, which is very awkward because I don't understand why they're not working. Are they not essential? That's what I'm not understanding. I mean, I'm working, so why aren't they? So at this point, I bought a handgun, but I'm not going to say what it is. I know KS knows what it is because I asked him for some information on it. But I even when I get it, it should be here in like 12 days. But even when I get it, all I can do is hand in the paperwork and they're not signing it. So who knows when that's going to happen? But I am excited. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool gun.
Cool.
Good. You
didn't tell me, but I bet I know what it is.
Text it to me and I'll tell you yes or no.
Okay.
All right. Hey, we've got a question out here from Ranger 10mm. Have any of you guys bought or shot the Ruger 5.7?
Nope. I don't really have much interest in it, to be honest with you. I saw one, but didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, I've put one in the hand and played with the controls, and I like it. But I only one I've ever shot is the FN that I had.
Okay. I have not seen one even. So definitely have not shot one. I would like to see one. I think it'd be cool to see. They sound actually like I don't want to say an improvement on the original FN, but just perhaps a little bit more modern, a little bit more palatable for some people with maybe slightly smaller hands, that sort of thing. So I'd love to see one. It's not necessarily on my radar in terms of buying it or anything like that, but I think it'd be fun to try. Now, OH Gear Guy said you got the Archon.
No, I didn't get the Archon. No, it was actually a close tie between that and the one that I actually ordered. Price wise, they were about the same, but there was one that kind of, I don't know, man, it's something that I like about this other one better than the Archon. I still, for whatever it is, I still am hung up on that Archon. I don't know why. I just don't. So the other one I looked at is actually a little bit more carryable, I guess, and that's what kind of intrigued me to that model.
Yeah, okay. I saw what you got, and that's a good choice.
It's pretty cool. It's not it's not the normal that you see. I will say it's an FDE completely. So
nice. I know you're a big fan of the FDE.
Oh yeah.
We'll put it this way. I know somebody who has that now, and they're actually testing it, and he sent me a grouping that he did with it from 25 yards. It's pretty impressive. So I think you're really going to like it. Matter of fact, he loves it. I'll just say that, but I'm not going to say who it is.
Nice. Now Sam is saying you got the 92X. Now the 92X and all FDE would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not a Beretta.
You could spray paint it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Rattle can it.
Little rattle can, you know.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to do it. I did when I put my hands on the Ruger, the new Ruger 5.7. I did like the controls better than the FN 5.7. You know, I mean, I don't have any problems reaching any of them, either one of them, but I think it's going to be more usable on the Ruger than for a lot. I do like the sights a lot better on the Ruger than I do the FN, but and I'm sure it shoots this. You know, it's got the same capacity and everything, and of course, it's a lot cheaper, a lot less expensive. You know, if you're looking for a 5.7, I don't really think you could go wrong with it. I haven't seen any long-term durability testing, but you know, it's got the lifetime warranty. So if there's an issue with it, they'll take care of it.
Yeah.
So.
And Ruger generally does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have any hesitation as far as that goes. Now, Pinoy, hopefully I'm saying that right. Urban Tactical is saying, has anyone shot the RIA BBR 3.1 1911? That is a mouthful. Yeah,
Rock Island Armory. I have not the 3.1. Have you? I know you did some Rock Island stuff, but it was the bigger.
Yeah, I didn't do any of their smaller 1911s. I did do that. What was that CZ clone that they have? I can't remember. What's that called? 17. Do you remember? Map.
The map. Yep.
Yeah. And those were fun. I enjoyed the Rock Island stuff. 10 millimeter. I especially enjoyed that 22 TCM. That is a lot of fun, and it's a great way to get the attention of everyone on the range really fast.
It's loud and it's a fireball. It'll throw some fireballs out of it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So everybody be sure to send your questions our way. Use the call out if you can, just so it's easier for us to see. Now, Sam's got a question here. Do you guys like the Smith & Wesson M&P with or without an Apex trigger? Loaded question.
With.
Yeah. Well, the 2.0 is better than the 1.0. However, they're all great with the Apex trigger. I mean, hell, if you've got a 1.0 or a 2.0, I think when you put the Apex in it, it makes both of them pretty equal. I mean, I can't tell the difference between a 1.0 with an Apex and then a 2.0 with an Apex, because you're changing, you know, the whole kit. So yeah, they're butter with an Apex, but without an Apex, they still lack, but they're good, you know.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that my 3.6 inch without the Apex was pretty good. It still wasn't at all on par with the Apex. The Apex transforms the gun. That takes it from whatever, that's fine, it's a good gun, but it doesn't blow me away, to an absolute tack driver. It really does.
I would actually say that out of all the triggers that I've put on guns that are from Apex, I would say the two that I've found the most noticeable and the most significant differences, the M&P definitely is at the top. There's absolutely no gun that I've had an Apex trigger on that even compares to that M&P forward sear trigger. It's just unbelievably great. And then probably the second in the running would probably be the FN 509 trigger. Just a major improvement over the feel and the trigger pull. The Glocks are still a little, you know, they're good, but the shoe I think helps more than anything else. But the other two by far are hands down, in my opinion, musts on those two handguns.
I would agree with all three of those in the exact order that you said. So I would definitely second that.
Yeah. I wasn't quite as impressed on the FN 509. Now, the Apex made a difference. It did make it better. There's no doubt about that. But it started with not a good trigger, with the stock trigger. It's a lot of grit, a lot of that sort of thing. And the Apex doesn't really solve that issue quite as much. So I was not quite as blown away with that. But I run Apex on all my Glocks, with the exception of a couple that just kind of play around with some different things. But by and large, especially all the P80s, that sort of thing. And I absolutely love Glock Apex triggers. First, that flat face, that totally flat face. And it does shorten up the pre and post travel just a little bit. Doesn't do anything to poundage or anything like that. You got to mess with springs and other things, but I thoroughly enjoy them. So,
Now, one of the other things about the Apex triggers too is that they kind of updated the trigger safety. So the old trigger safety used to be real thin, so now they're thicker, and it like feels better than it did before, if that's even possible. And it's not like, it's not like we're trying to advertise for them, but they're we all use them, we all know how good they are, and we wouldn't say that they're good if they weren't.
yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no, we don't get paid or anything like that, but when something's good, you want to recommend it.
Yeah, you find certain products, certain brands that you can get behind because you have nothing but good experiences with as a consumer, as a user. That's really important. Lock Grips is another one that comes to mind. We all have great experiences there. Their products are tight. They look good. They feel good. They're functional. What else can you ask for?
Yeah, and like Harry's Holsters, he makes great products. Links Defense. I mean, there's some good people out there, that really deserve a lot of credit for what they do.
Yep. No, I agree. So real quick, Logan's got a question for us. What do we think of Justin Trudeau's ban on AR-15s and the 10 and 12 gauge shotguns? There are AR-15s on the ban list that are airsoft guns.
Well, I can tell you we can't order airsoft guns online in New York State. Yeah, and it's not possible. I mean, it's, coming from a state where there's such a huge stupidity behind the SAFE Act, and I did kind of a mockery of it in my last video with the Marlin, but to have it completely banned, what is that actually going to do? A criminal is and we've had this discussion a million times, but the criminal is always going to get their hands on things that are illegal. That's why they're called criminals. And so this ban, who does it affect? And you're banning 12 gauge shotguns. You're banning rifles that people hunt with, that people use for home protection and self-protection. And again, I'm not familiar with the Canadian Constitution, but I'm assuming there is no Second Amendment that protects their right to arm themselves. And again, it's another testament to why we have the Second Amendment, even though obviously New York has had some issues with that, thanks to the future president, apparently, of the United States, Governor Cuomo. At least that's what they're saying. I mean, I don't know, but I'm not voting for him. But it's just, it's unbearable. I mean, it really is. If you don't live in a state that's restricted at all, you guys have no clue how fucking unbearable the rules are here. It's just, it's stupid.
Well, and like Canada, if someone breaks into your house, you basically have to fall up in the fetal position. You can't defend your life against an intruder in Canada. I've got a friend who lives there, and that's what he's told me. You're at their mercy, and that's ridiculous. I mean, to say you can't have this and you can't have that and stuff, it's ridiculous. I wouldn't tolerate it, but I don't have to yet. I mean, we're fighting for our rights just like everyone is every day. But all of a sudden, just to come out one day and say, now you can't have this and you can't have that. And I think they're still working through it to see if some of this stuff can be grandfathered. But, people have spent a lot of money on these items, and to just say, oh, you can't use it now, it's ridiculous. It kind of goes back to even what we dealt with, and I'm not a big bump stock guy because I've got a belt loop and a finger. But, that whole deal, just saying, okay, you've bought that $200 product and now you have to destroy it, but we're not going to pay you for it. And we're going to close shops who make that stuff and put people out of business. That's absolutely goofy. Well, I was going to use a different word, but I'll be nice. You have not bought that product. I bought it. And now you're telling me I can't use it. Screw you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said, and it's a government overreach and an overreaction to a tragic event that happened, and we see it all the time. And I think sometimes it's in an effort to try and win votes to large groups of people. But at the end of the day, we all know it doesn't really solve anything. It doesn't solve the problem, right? It's unfortunate that this has happened, and hopefully it'll be overturned at some point in time. God's Wrath has a question, or is proposing a scenario here. Martial law has happened. You have to bug out, but you have to leave the wife behind. How do you tell her?
No, that wouldn't happen. You know, I wouldn't leave my wife and kid, you know, or anything like that. So I wouldn't do that.
But what if you had to?
You have to.
But
You don't have a choice.
I can't even imagine. Okay, I'm going out for a pack of smokes. I'll, you know, see you around. I mean, you know, I don't know. That's just something I personally wouldn't do. You know, we're protectors, and I would stay and protect. You know, until I couldn't. So I mean, or you know, I was put down, or whatever you want to say. So,
how would I tell my wife? I don't know. I don't really know what I would tell her. Jeez. Oh yeah, honey, I got to go out to the stores. Oh wait, they're all closed.
yeah.
Oh, I got to go and buy some preparation H. Got to go. Bad case of hemorrhoids, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah, you're
You know
a pain
what
in the ass. I'll see you
and-
later.
And the guilt would just kill me. The guilt
Yeah.
alone would kill me. I don't think I could, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it.
So from the divorced perspective, see ya. That
Yeah.
would be it.
Bye, Felicia.
Later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting proposition, no doubt about that. Now Harry's saying, isn't the more likely scenario the wives leave the guys? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
You know, what would be crazy though, if anything like that did happen? I mean, we could kind of flip that. If anything like that did happen, say it was a SHTF or whatever, how many of your neighbors or friends or whatever would probably try to bolt to your house?
Quite a few.
Yeah, mine
None of
too.
them.
I mean,
No, my neighbors would not. They would not come over here.
Really?
well, I'm talking if it's people that you allow, or you know, you wanted to help, not just, you know.
I wouldn't. Let me tell you a little story about why I would not want my neighbors here. So my one idiot neighbor, he's now got he's always talked about, like, he's a big shot about guns, right? And so I'm like, yeah, okay. You know how somebody who talks about guns, but knows really nothing about them.
Oh,
So he wound up buying a shotgun, 410 single shot, from my local gun shop. So he was shooting it, and it malfunctioned. So he took it back to the gun shop. The gun shop says, well, there's nothing wrong with the gun. You put the wrong shell in the gun. So he put a 12 gauge shell in a 410.
How?
And,
How?
well, I don't know if it was either 12 or 20 gauge. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, okay.
But it clicked. It went bang, and that was it. But the guy was lucky he didn't blow his face off, or he didn't have the gun blow up in his hands. So, nah, I really don't need those types of people coming over.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I was gonna say he probably put a 410 in a 20 gauge.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I know people who have 410s and 20 gauges, and they've mixed them up before with grabbing ammo. But yeah, and then also, you know, and I understand. Well, actually, I was gonna say Kathleen's asking, you know, 410 single shot. I mean, if that's what you can get it. But you know, why?
Yeah, that would not be my first choice either.
I mean, like if you know, back in what 1962 or something, that might have been a hot thing, but not now.
Right. Absolutely. Randy's got a great question. What do you guys think of the Ruger PC Charger pistol?
I think it's a great option for someone to have because, of course, it takes Glock mags. So I think it's small package. I think it's kind of, and I know they built it off of the PC, carbine that they have, but to have that short of a barrel and then have it be a takedown, I think it's kind of silly personally. But I guess if you just want to make it even smaller, that's a good thing. But I don't know. I think they kind of missed the boat on that personally, just as the takedown on the front. But, you know, I mean, I think it's a cool option, you know, I mean, for the price and stuff, you could get into it fairly reasonable, and it will take full stick Glock mag. So,
17, what do you think?
I hate to tell you guys this. I'm not paying attention because I'm actually working still while I'm doing this. Look, I apologize. It's nonstop. I mean, it's horrible. I can't shut anything off. Nobody leaves me the fuck alone. So I'm just sitting here working. and I'm not paying attention. So I'm
Thoughts-
sorry.
thoughts on
That's
the-
okay. We're in a different world here,
Yeah.
but so Randy was asking, what do you think of the PC charger?
Oh, yeah. So I heard the question. I actually acknowledged it in my brain, but it slipped out. What is new? So the charger is cool. I like it a lot. Unfortunately, it's got a pistol grip, so it immediately makes it illegal in New York State. But it would be one that I would absolutely get. I mean, the Ruger PC carbine was excellent. I can't see this being any less than that. And I think it was a bold move and a brilliant move by Ruger. Now, if they just could get their pistols in order and actually make something that makes sense instead of an American competition gun, which makes no sense to me. But yeah, that's a pretty cool little gun.
Yeah. So for the very first time, I actually was able to get my hands on not that one, not the Charger. I haven't seen that, but the carbine with the cool stock, kind of the newer stock, whatever. And I played around with the takedown and everything. Super easy. I like the mechanics behind it. I think it's cool. So the Charger looks very cool. For the money, to your point, Big Johnson, I think it's a good value for what you get. It takes Glock mags or Ruger mags. So whichever you've got a big collection of, I think that's a good asset for it. And the takedown thing, there are a couple things about that. First, yes, you could make that even smaller, but I don't think that's why they did it. My guess is they did it first so they didn't have to retool anything and reinvent the wheel, but also they'll have the options for the longer barrels. So you could potentially have the Charger that you could throw in your bag. But if you want to do a bigger range day and have the carbine or something like that, you could do it. And it's all threaded barrels. So you can run a can on them. I mean, I think they're pretty slick little deals. Now, I'd like a folding stock. That'd be cool. Or folding brace. But aside from that, I dig them.
Yeah. I mean, I think, they made it that small. So when you put a suppressor on it, it's going to be still small or smaller. So I say, grab it.
Yeah. And Scott's saying PC Charger in 5.7, that would be very cool.
Yeah.
And they may do that. I mean, since they've already gotten into the 5.7, why not?
Yeah. Who knows? They very well could. I don't know if it would. Well, actually, you know what? They would have to change the receiver on the bottom to accept the 5.7 mag because it's a totally different mag.
Well, that's true. But if they did it once, they might be able to do it again. So you never know. You never know. All right. Searching around here. Says super easy to clean as a takedown. Is it Mr. Enlightenment? There we go. Very nice. I'm a little slow on the uptake, but I eventually get there.
All right.
Guerrero is saying I got the PC carbine, wish had the Charger as well. Interchangeable barrels, which is cool. Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it.
Yeah, if you want to stretch it out a little farther, you could stick the barrel on there. I didn't think about that, but that is a good option.
Yeah, I think so. A little bit more flexibility. So you have the one serial number, you have multiple barrel lengths. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Art, good to see Art. Thoughts on PMM and the push for comps on pistols. So help me out with PMM.
Parker Mountain Machine.
Okay, thank you.
And they are awesome.
So are they doing a lot of comps? Is that the deal? Is that the impetus for this?
They kind of do a bunch of stuff, but yeah, their comps, they're known for their comps. They kind of make the comp to where it rides on the guide rod, you don't have to really Loctite it and do all that crazy stuff with the screws that you have to do on some other stuff. I mean, I think you still have to use a little bit of that, but it, is designed to work off of the guide rod, and they're pretty legit.
What guns would that actually work with?
They make them for the SIG. Have you seen the ones where people are taking the X5 and they're putting like the compact barrel and then have the little piece on there? That's a Parker Mountain machine. So they're doing those. I think, and I don't hold me on this, but I also think they might either make the agency comps or they have something to do with them, or maybe they're paying them a royalty. But they look very similar to the agency comps. And Parker Mountain Machine's been out for a long time, but and their stuff's not overly priced, but they make them for Glock, for SIG. Who else do they make them for? I think they make them for maybe M&P. Don't know about CZ. I think they make them for FN. So they've got quite a different options for those.
Nice, nice. Well, I know you're a big fan of comps. I'm just barely starting to get into them, even though I've got a couple. They sit in a box. Beyond testing, my biggest criticism of comps is, you've got to do the tiny little screws with the Loctite. It doesn't always work out the way you want to, and they can loosen up and everything. And so, to me, it's more effort than it's worth. And I just haven't found one that's been impressive until now. And that was, and I think I may have mentioned it last week, the Killer Innovations comps, because even though they've got some thread screws, if you use their barrel, those thread screws just slide into a couple of slots to keep the comp lined up, keep it timed, if you will. But then there's a screw that goes on the threads on the barrel, so it all locks down without having to put in screws into the barrel, or kind of crunching into the barrel. So I've been uber impressed, and they are so much fun to shoot. I was really skeptical of how much of a difference it could possibly make, but taking several very like firearms side by side, one with the comp on it, one without the comp on it, and doing some side by side shooting just for fun. And it had some buddies center fire, kind of play along with it as well. We were all blown away by how much of a difference that makes, and how flat that gun would shoot with that comp on it. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I've done tests where I've taken the regular P07 versus the comped P07, the regular P10C versus the comped P10C, and done little things like that for myself. And they do work. And, they work even with 115, you can tell a difference. It's not drastic, but you can tell a difference. Then when you run plus P or 147, 124, you can tell the difference.
Scott is saying Parker Mountain Machines is only about 35 minutes north of me, and if I remember correctly, most of their comps use rock set.
Yeah, they use the rock set, but then it works off of the guide rod. So even if the rock set came loose, it's not going to spin all the way around. It could wiggle, but your guide rod is still holding it, so to say, to guide it. So it couldn't spin around like a regular one would. But yeah, I mean, it's they make nice stuff. So
yeah. So John's asking 17. The 43X is snappy. Any thoughts of comps on that pistol? Can you do comps?
Nope, not allowed, because it would mean you'd have a threaded barrel.
Yeah,
so you can't have threaded barrels up here unless it's on a lever action rifle.
So you could do a comp on your lever action rifle.
Yes. Yep. So I've been looking at them, but I have yet to find anything that's, I don't know. I don't really know what's going to work with that Marlin. So I know it would have to be like a 30 cal type of comp. But I haven't really found anything that I'm interested in at this point. If anybody has any ideas, let me know, and I'll look into it. Do they make them?
Yes.
They want to send me one for free for testing?
Guess where they're located?
Let me guess, New York. No.
Yes.
They're in Texas.
Alaska.
They're in New York.
Are they really?
Yep, they really are. And their comps are awesome. I've got one. I had one on my 30 cal.
All right, so text me that name, and then I'll see if I can hit them up and beg.
Write it down. It's Precision Armament.
That's too many words, man.
I do like the idea of the comps on the not the 48 quite so much, but the 43X. If it's small enough to where you have a 48 holster and you got the 43X, that would be a pretty slick thing. But again, to me, it's all about the mechanics of it. It would have to be the same thing. I do not want to depend on a couple of little set screws trying to hold it together. That it doesn't inspire me.
I have shot a 43 with a comp and with a dot on it, and I will tell you, it was pretty freaking impressive. It's got what is it? Starts with an S. Savorskin or God dang it. It's their whole upper. They make a whole upper slide, and it's already milled. Suarez. It's a Suarez. And Humble's got it. And that little sucker is a freaking tack driver. I mean, I was shooting it from like 40 yards away, and I was just like, ding, ding, ding. And I was like, wow, this is actually, I mean, it's it's got the 10 round mag, so to say. But that was also before he got the S15s, from Shield Arms. So it's a pretty cool little gun. I was actually really impressed with it.
Nice. Now, real quick, So Killer Innovations advertises that you don't have to do anything with recoil springs at all. Their comps will work regardless. Now, The gun that I've tested it on so far is a Gen 5. It's a Glock 45. It worked fine. And recoil springs, you don't have any choices with Gen 4, Gen 5, unless you go with like DPMS or whatever. And those things are stupid expensive. And frankly, I'm not impressed with them. So Gen 3, I don't know. I've got a P80 that's got a comp on it. I have not tried it yet. So more to come on that perhaps. But I'm running an 18-pound recoil spring that's OEM. So I'm assuming it's going to work.
Yeah. Kathleen says she doesn't like customizing her pistols. Does anybody else feel that way?
Not me.
What would be the, I wonder what's the rationale, music? Because I think it's like anything else. You want it, in my opinion, you'd want to customize something that fits you better, suits you better. Obviously we can get into legality and all that other stuff, but I'm not sure why you wouldn't do that.
Well, I mean, it could be, for some people it could be cost. Some people, it could be the fear of legality. There's a lot of variables that I've heard people say. And like I've said before, with aftermarket triggers, oh, that trigger's too light, you're going to get sued. Well, okay, I'll carry my TSO, got a 2-pound trigger. I mean, there's 1911s that have, butter triggers. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. And this would be my fight. It doesn't matter if I shoot you with a 2-pound trigger or a 14-pound trigger, as long as it's a good shoot. And that's the way I would look at it. And I would argue that all day, or have my, legal people argue it for me. But that's my opinion. I think if it makes you a more proficient shooter and it makes you better, then why not do it? But if you choose not to, that's cool too. I mean, it's, to each their own. But of course, I don't like to keep anything stock. And I have a lot of stock guns, but if I can make it more to fit me or the way I like it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. It just, to me, firearms serve multiple purposes, one of which is a tool, of course. But then there's the collection aspect. And then there's just the fun experimentation. I mean, that's why I do the P80s and some of those types of things. That's why I like Glock so much, mainly because of the availability of parts and the mix matching of different things. I mean, I really enjoy that. Just did a new build, and I'm excited about that. And it's just because it's fun, But,
sure.
But I totally get it. There are some people that really, they run 100% stock, and that is perfectly fine as well.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a couple. Yeah, I was going to say.
So, I got it. So Johnny Danger was saying, do any of you carry knives? And if so, what do you carry?
I always carry a knife on my person. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the videos that's in the rotation. So I've got a video coming up on just that. And you'll be surprised at which one I pick, because it's not a $500 knife. And I've been testing this thing and beating the crap out of it, and I bought it. Matter of fact, I liked it so much I bought another one. And it's a very affordable knife. And I mean, I've got expensive knives, but they'll be surprised on this one. But every day, because it never fails, I always use it at least one time a day for something.
Sure.
I do not carry a knife with me. I don't carry it. Nope.
Okay. That's fair. I do always have a knife on me. Even at those times when I can't have a firearm for work-related reasons or whatever, I always have a knife with me. I do find that I use the knife quite often. It's very handy to have for all sorts of just, little odds and ends. It's just nice to have, but then also as a backup weapon if need be. So I'm a big fan. Now, I typically carry a Spyderco, just an Endura, really old one from, I don't know, like 1995, something like that. But I occasionally, there's a Gerber spring assisted one that I really like. In fact, I've got links to some of that stuff in some of my videos, so you can at least go out and see what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm a knife fan. I mean, I have amassed a lot of random knives over the years, most of them in drawers. They never get used, but they're fun. I think they're fascinating, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I actually had to use one. A lady got in an accident, blew her airbags, and her seatbelt was locked. This was, I don't know, like 10 years ago. And of course, when you get in that, your seatbelt locks up. And I was trying to reach around her, and she was a little larger, and I couldn't get down there to get the seatbelt out. So I just took out my pocket knife because the seatbelt was already trashed. I mean, it would have to be replaced because it's been an accident. So I just sliced it, got her out of there, and went about her business. But you know, I mean, you never know what you're going to bump into. Even if you keep one in the car, that, you know, because you can't carry it. If you just keep one in the vehicle, then at least you have it.
Yeah, I keep one in the car that specifically has like the seatbelt cutter and all that. That always stays in the car and never goes with me anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, LZ. What's the opinion on the Shield Arms 15-round Glock magazine? This is for all of us, of course. And that would be for the 43X and the 48. What do you guys think?
I think if you can own it, it's a great idea. Makes a good gun even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's my opinion too. I have not personally. No, I don't think. No. Yeah, he hadn't gotten them yet. I haven't personally shot them yet, but from what I've seen of them and the people who are using them, so far so good. So, anytime you can get more capacity, if they're reliable, and you get yours and please test it. Don't just take them out of the package and load them up. Test them, make sure they work with your gun. There's no burrs or something weird in it, and then rock it, man. I mean, I love extensions, which gives me more ammo, but I personally never ran that magazine because I don't have that gun or those guns. So, but I say do it.
Yeah. That's my backup magazine when I have my 43X with me. So, and I've done the magazine release and all that. I've been very impressed. It's run flawlessly for me. It's crazy that not only were they able to do it, but also, you know, getting rid of the polymer and just going with the steel mag. It's kind of ingenious. So they have extensions for them as well. So you could even do more. To me, that's a little bit more overkill, but I guess, you know, if you have the philosophy of more ammo, the better, that's fine. And that would certainly serve the purpose. But people have also asked about, are they going to try and do that for like the Glock 19 or 17 or anything, which they might at some point in time, but I feel like they'd be almost encroaching upon their own business. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
But Kathleen has an awesome question, and I don't know that anyone has ever asked this question on our chats over the years. She's asking what makes a good trigger, and this could turn into an interesting debate.
Yeah.
It's an excellent question, though.
It is. Because I will say this, on a good trigger, everybody can have what they like. You know, some people don't like a lot of take up. I mean, I don't like a lot of take up if I can help it. And I like a really good reset. That's just me personally. And I like a lighter trigger. So if I can get a lighter trigger with a good reset and, you know, take out a lot of the creep or the, you know, some people call it, you know, gushiness or slop, you know, that's what I'm looking for. I just want it to be, you know, I want to be able to prep it, you know, have it go bang and then have a shorter reset. That's my preferred type trigger. Almost like a 1911. If you've shot a 1911, as close to a 1911 as you can get, that's what I like. So.
You know, that's a tough question to answer. So I'll give you kind of an experienced answer. So the Walther PPQ, I think a lot of people would agree, is an excellent trigger. You know, at one time, a lot of people would say it was the best trigger that was out on you know, in a boxed gun coming out. So I agree. It's like it was the best trigger ever. However, could it be improved? And obviously, everybody's going to have their own opinions on that. So I wound up putting an Apex trigger in it, and it actually improved the way the trigger responded to me as a shooter. So the best way I can describe that is that the flat face made it an easier pull on the trigger, and there was less, I guess, less pushback or spring when that reset would hit. So if you've shot the PPQ, you guys know it's an extremely, extremely positive, you know, reset. It's a very forceful reset. So just that little change really changed the dynamic of the trigger to make it even better. So you had a very good short take up, but then a more controllable reset. So, you know, in that regard, I think that, yes, I think a trigger for me is just more controllable on the reset, and and the shoe makes a huge difference too. The more comfortable the shoe is, I feel like your trigger just gets a better hold on it. So hopefully that helps.
Nice. And Captain Shark was saying, depends on the pistol and the intended use. A long, heavier pull on a pocket pistol isn't necessarily a bad thing. And that's kind of a good lead into how I think of triggers, because I look for different trigger qualities depending on the type of firearm, and also the mechanics of the firearm, the manual of arms. So a polymer trigger, I'm going to expect different things out of that than I am a 1911 or 2011 or a double action, single action, or a rifle or whatever. So I'm going to look for different things. In terms of polymer firearms, and there's such a wide variety of triggers, both good and, in my opinion, not quite so good. I try to stay under the 5 pound. I just prefer that. To me, they're more fun to shoot. I'm a little bit more accurate because I'm not, worrying quite as much about trigger pull, although a little heavier isn't that big of a deal. But I also want something that's really crisp. So if it's got to have a wall and a break, I want that to be very crisp and nice. And not just a thud or anything. I like P320s, but I always pick on their break. It's just this bland play. And there's just nothing to it. It's not exciting to me. It's not clean to me. Their original triggers pre-recall were awesome, but I think the post-recall triggers are just not as good. Anyway, but like you said, a good, nice reset is also really important. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if you were in a real-life situation, does reset matter? No, it really doesn't. But when we're just having fun and analyzing triggers, it matters. I think from a training and dry fire perspective, I think it matters. But in terms of single action triggers, man, the lighter the better. I love a trigger that's under 3 pounds, even under 2 pounds, if at all possible. Just have that almost hair trigger. I will tell you, the TSO, first time I shot that gun, you were there practicing all safety things, so nothing bad happened or anything, but it did go off a little bit prematurely because I had no idea that the second the pores looked at the trigger face, the gun was going to go off. Anyway, and double action, single action, those range quite as much, but the lower the poundage, the better as far as I'm concerned, but also smooth. I just want as smooth a trigger as possible. So every single trigger characteristic is going to be a little bit different, and what people want out of a trigger is going to be different. And to Shark's point, you might want a really heavy trigger depending on the use. So
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Each their own. Like I even, I've got a SIG 1911, and I didn't like the trigger. It just wasn't that great. It was kind of heavy for a 1911, so I put the Apex hammer in it with the EGW sear and different spring or different kit in it, and it even made that trigger way better just by doing that. But of course, the hammer is what works on 1911 and the sear, but it made it totally different, and it was actually a real pleasure to shoot. So you can even take stock 1911s and make them better. That's of course like custom 1911s. So I even like doing that kind of stuff. I've turned into a trigger snob. But you got to remember, I'm older. I've shot all the crap back in the day when aftermarket triggers weren't available. I shot the 15-pound revolvers and all that trash. So I've been there and done that. Got a hat and a t-shirt. So now it's time to have a little more fun and enjoy pistols a lot more. So,
yeah, very true indeed. Now, Sam has a very important question for the three of us right here. Could we take on John Wick?
No. I guess if I caught him in a dark alley and he wasn't looking, but
I muted myself, didn't realize it. I would say for me, because I'm bold, I'm going to say yes, but it would have to be 20 years ago.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah,
20 years ago for me and 20 years forward for him. So that way I have an advantage.
Right. No, totally. Give me a dull toothbrush and he's going down, man. I swear.
Just give me a pencil. Just give me a pencil, man.
Right. A pencil, that would do too. No, man, he's obviously fictional, but I love those movies, and he is quite the badass as far as I'm concerned. So he could take me down without actually moving. So Preston is asking, do you guys like the USP?
H&K USP?
I would assume.
Yep. I think it's a cool gun. It's not my go-to or anything like that. Even the USP 45, I had one of those back in the day. It was a cool gun, but with capacity, you were limited. And it's a big old tank. It'll run and they don't break, but I think they're overpriced for what they are. HK has always been super, super proud of their guns and demanded a high price until finally they started coming down on the SKs. But I think they're cool guns.
I mean, I used to own a P2000, which is kind of more of the semi-modern version of the USP, and I loved it. It's a great gun. No issues with it. It had the LEM trigger in it, which was fantastic. But I would say it's a good gun, but I don't know. I think HK, like Big Johnson said, they've run their reputation for so long on guns that have been around forever. The VP9 being obviously the most modern one, but it would be nice to see maybe them reshape some of those old options that they used to have.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. So I have no experience with the USP, so I can't really say yay or nay on it. I've seen them, but I've not shot them before, and I'm not even sure I've handled one, to be honest with you. So no opinion there, but I like the P30 series, and I like the VP9 series quite a bit. I've got experience with both of those, and I think they put together a good gun.
Honestly, I really like the P30 line over the USP personally. That's just my opinion. But, if you've got a USP, I mean, they're great guns. They don't break. The mags are expensive. The guns are expensive. But if you've got them, rock those suckers.
Sure. But with the P series, to me, it's got to be the V1 LEM. That's where the triggers get really good.
Yeah, you can get some horrific triggers on some of those things.
Yeah, you definitely can. Pinoy's got another question. What is your favorite carry gun of all time? And you can only pick one.
It's a very commonly asked question. CZP-01 all day long.
I figured. I mean,
it's never going to change. Never. It will never change for me.
Yeah.
Okay, it's favorite carry gun. I would probably say the P10C, the way I've got it with the comp and everything. Shoot it good. I really like it. I'm not recoil sensitive. Some people say it recoils a little bad. It's got, the factory trigger is good on it. I don't really have any issues shooting it. I would probably say that. I mean, I've got other guns, but that's probably my favorite carry gun.
Nice. I probably have to go with my longest or longevity carry gun, and that would have to be the Smith & Wesson Shield. Although, ironically, I'm not carrying it at this time. I'm carrying either the Glock 26 or 43X just about all the time. Occasionally, the 365 XL. But the Shield has probably been on my side longer than any other firearm, and it's just a good gun. I mean, it just is. Not terrifically exciting by today's standards, but people still love the Shield, and I got to give it some credit. Let's see here. So Dennis, I could take John Wick, but only if he was armed with a New York water pistol.
There you go. And those will soon be illegal. So get them while you can.
You could put an eye out with those.
That's right. They look very menacing nowadays, especially in the clear plastic pink. That's very menacing.
So God's Wrath is continuing music's question and saying, so you answered what makes a good trigger, but what makes a good shooter? Very interesting.
I would say a person that can put their shots on target where they want them intended to go. I wouldn't say you have to be a world record holder shooter. If you don't shoot competition, doesn't mean that you're a bad shooter. I would say with experience, putting bullet or ammo down range. But I would say put them where you intend to in vital areas. If you're talking about self-defense. I mean, if you're a bullseye shooter and you just go shoot targets, if you can hit your target, you're a good shooter.
I think what makes a good shooter is dedication to shooting. Because everybody has their own little, things. You're either jerking the trigger, my handshake, everybody knows that. So Do I think I'm a terrible shooter? No, I think I could be better if my hands didn't shake, but I don't think I'm bad at all, comparatively speaking to some of the other shit I've seen. But, at the same time, what makes a good shooter, I think it's just dedicating yourself to it, just learning it. It's some people like to golf. I like to shoot.
Yeah. For me, I think a good shooter and good. When I think of a good shooter, it's someone who can put quality, consistent rounds on target at whatever the distance, whatever the target. I'm not thinking of, top of the line competitive shooters. I'm not thinking of the Mitchell X and Honest Outlaws and that sort of thing. Those guys are on a different plane than the average shooter. But an average good shooter, somebody who can apply the fundamentals and apply them consistently and use them to put those quality shots on target. And so we're talking stance, we're talking grip, finger control, sight alignment, all of those things, and just that combination. And so I watch a lot of people shoot at the range, a lot. And I've kind of, I'm a data person, I'm a stats person, and my brain is always kind of compiling what I see and averaging things out. And by and large, I'll see people shoot at, let's say, the 15 to 25 foot distance. That's a really common distance for a lot of people at indoor ranges anyway. And typically they're shooting somewhere in an 8 to 10 ring circle. Most of the shots, occasionally falling outside of that. The good shooters, even at that distance or maybe a little bit further, but distance doesn't equate good shooter, in my opinion. It doesn't, because again, you just have to apply the fundamentals. But good shooters are going to close that ring pretty consistently to, let's say, somewhere between a 4 and a 6 inch circle. I think that's a really good mark and I guess judgment for a good shooter. Consistency, those fundamentals, and seeing those good quality hits on target. You see a good clean circle. It doesn't have to chew the center out of a target. I mean, those are the exception to the rule. But just good quality and consistency. When you are thinking, I want to put that round on that target in about that spot, and you do it, it's a good shooter.
Yeah, you've done what you intended to do. So. I saw a comment go by, and it's when you kill the bad guy, somebody said it. And I mean, that's what it comes down to. You got to put your shots on target. And I've seen, the competitive guys, and they're going for speed. So they're not the most accurate, and you've seen the bullseye people shooting bullseye groups. And then you've seen people just, go out and do defensive type shooting. So it's really kind of what your forte is, or if you want to have a little bit of all of it, but practice, kind of practice. And I don't ever want to say perfect, but practice makes you way better. So, it's how much dedication, how much time you put into it.
So really quick, Johnny Danger asked a question a while ago. He was asking if we could explain what the LEM triggers were.
Sure. So that's the law enforcement triggers. That it's going to be a lightened single action trigger on the P series of firearms, and they do not have a safety, I don't believe, whether it be on the back or on the side, and it's going to have a shortened distance a little bit. So I think it's an elevated or I don't know, higher quality trigger. I think they're top of the line trigger.
It has about a reset too, doesn't it?
I don't know about reset. I can't remember.
Reset. So I think the biggest thing, or the biggest way to think about what an LEM trigger is like, think of a single action that's actually a double action only, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, it's not a double action at all. It's so you got your hammer spring and your trigger return spring. The hammer spring is almost completely cocked. So when you pull the trigger, the only thing you're really pushing against is that trigger return spring. So as soon as you pull that trigger, that hammer is ready to go at about 2.5 pounds. And that's why it's made for, the LEM trigger for law enforcement. So you don't have that really, really long, heavy double action. If you've never owned one, I would highly recommend it. It is the smoothest hammer you're ever going to pull on a trigger. It's just, even the reset is like butter. I mean, that's the best way to say it. Even the reset, it's a little bit longer than a single action. But again, you're not really getting any resistance on any springs except for one. And as soon as you pull that trigger, it goes immediately. It's a fantastic setup. Fantastic setup.
Yeah.
I would agree. Mischievous has a question. What's the most you would pay for a pistol? And who's getting the alien pistol when it hits the market?
$5.
$5, right.
Oh shit. Well,
I mean,
I just paid a lot for this last pistol I bought, more than I was comfortable with. KS kind of once again, poked and prodded and completely screwed me. But I didn't buy it from him. But I would say for me, the maximum that I'm comfortable with right now is 900 or less, and even that $900 it just makes me shake my head. But I did sell some shit, so I said, "Fuck it, let me do it."
Yeah. I've spent a lot on a pistol or pistols. Not. I guess for a pistol, I've never spent alien money, but I've spent kind of close to it. But I wouldn't. I don't. Me personally, I don't. I think the alien's cool. I just don't know if it's going to be like, okay, I shoot the Shadow 2 and I put a group up, and I shoot the other one. Like if I were to shoot the Lago Arms, is it going to be like, oh my God, now I'm shooting bullseyes? I don't think so, because I know how I shoot. I've shot super, super nice triggers and all this other stuff. I just don't see the value for me personally in that pistol. I think it has really cool, the way that it's made. I think it's, they've really been innovative in making that pistol, but I just don't have any reason to own it. Could I buy it? Yeah, if I wanted it, but it's just not for me personally. If someone has one, which one of my subs has got one, or he's ordered one, so when it comes in, if I shoot it and I'm like, holy crap, I just love this thing, would I buy one? Maybe, but right now I just don't have any interest personally in it. I think it's cool to look at people shooting it and just look the way it works and everything, but didn't do a whole bunch for me.
Yeah, I'm not interested in the alien. That doesn't do anything for me. But as far as price, I mean, I don't know. I've got a combat master, if that tells you anything. I mean, but there are some rules that are set in there. It's not like I can't just walk out the door and go, hey, I want to combat. It doesn't work that way. I mean, I have to think very carefully about, okay, what can I sell? What can I do? Because, I'll budget for certain firearms. And if there's something that's outside of that budget, I have to make some sacrifices because money doesn't grow on trees, or at least trees around here. So yeah, I have no issue of buying an expensive firearm, because I'm looking, whether it be the collection aspect or the experience aspect or whatever, or variations of those. I think it's worth every penny. However, to me, there are also sacrifices that come with that sort of thing. Now, if it's a Glock, I mean, a build I'm working on needed a Glock Gen 4, so I found a used one for a little over $400. Not a problem. That's fine, because the cost of that versus trying to piece all the parts together was far more worth just buying the old one and getting the parts I need and being done with it. So I'm okay with that. But again, budgets are a concern, but I'll make sacrifices if it's something that's really special.
And just kind of leapfrogging on what you guys are talking about, even with the latest purchase, the reason why I went with that instead of, let's say the Archon, was I just felt that the one that I wound up purchasing just had a little bit more capability for me. Whereas like even the Archon, there's not a lot. If something breaks, you can't just easily replace it. Whereas what I am getting, it's extremely easy to replace anything that breaks. So I always look at it from that picture also. I mean, you go super expensive, but there's also that other side of it saying, is it easily replaceable? Parts, even the gun itself, customer service, all those things I think play a role in it.
Oh. Now here's a question that I've been asked and that I've talked to some friends about, and we kind of have this little discussion. Do you have an allowance? Okay. And what I'm meaning by that is, do you have, like, if you happen to be in a gun store and you just see something that you like, and it doesn't have to be a gun, it could be a scope, it could be whatever. And I kind of call it, mama don't know money. Like, do you have a budget that's like maybe in your back pocket, because I carry this in my pocket, but do you have a budget that's like, there's no questions, you really don't have to think about it. If you want it, you just buy it right then and there, like a budgeted amount?
I don't answer to anyone, so I can kind of do what I want as long as bills are paid.
No, I was meaning it like you have an agreement with yourself.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
No, absolutely, and that agreement is all the bills have to be paid. I don't allow a certain dip in the account, and sometimes I have to make sacrifices. And if I really want it, I may have to sell some things. I mean,
what I'm talking about is carrying around money. Like if you lost it, you wouldn't die. It might just be like a little lump that you have in your wallet, and it's for instances like if you go in and see something.
Oh,
Not putting it on a credit card.
No, it's purely made of plastic. No.
Okay. Okay. Well, mine's like $400, and if it's a little over, that'd be cool too. But I just go in and I'm like, if I see that, boom, and that's kind of like my little budget that I've put out. If I find something that I really want and maybe I've been looking at and it happens to be there, or if it's like the used gun, it's like you make an offer and they're like, okay, we'll take it. And you're like, holy crap, those kind of situations is what I'm talking about.
Sure. I think that's a smart thing to do. And again, I mean, I don't do that because it's just, whatever the plastic can handle and whatever I can handle keeping up with the plastic. And so that's pretty much it. But tell you what, good people, it's about that time, 8:00 on the dot. Gentlemen, do you have any parting words?
Well, definitely want to thank everyone for joining us. It's awesome when y'all come and spend your Wednesday evening with us. It really means a lot. And thank you to you, gentlemen. I appreciate it very much. And, we will keep at it.
Likewise, sorry, still texting people from my job. It's great stuff. So yeah, just thanks for joining us. I know it's kind of hard because we're all in different situations and spots in the country. There's a lot of unhappiness up here, I'm sure, and other places as well. You just keep on pushing forward and trying to do what you can, and hopefully, I can tell you right now, I know my content is suffering because I can't get access to anything. So don't be surprised if you see me just doing videos on cans of paint or something. I don't know at this point. So. Yeah. We'll see how it all plays out. But thanks for following. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And thank you, gentlemen, for joining the chat.
Right on. Yeah, my videos are suffering too. So a couple of things. I know we didn't get to everybody's questions, so be sure to bring them back next week. We appreciate you guys spending your hard-earned time with us. It means a great deal to us, and so we very much appreciate that. And to you guys, thanks as always. And we'll be doing this again. So everybody, stay safe and healthy out there, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thanks, everyone. Carry on.
See you guys.